Hello, everybody. I think I'm live. Let me double check. Let's see. Yes, I am live. Everybody. So it's good to see all of you. We are here. It's amazing. It's August 4th. I love the heat. I love the heat, but I know not everybody does. So make sure you get a lot of water. I drank a lot of water already. So I'm on today because we're talking about cognitive flexibility. Hi there, Lynn. Oh, good. I see some people. Hallelujah. Good afternoon, Prince. So we're talking about cognitive flexibility and hope, because cognitive flexibility is being able to shift tracks, shift your mind quickly. But this, again, the hope is that we learn how to do this. And I always think of thought pancakes. That's like my thing, flipping pancakes. So we like to flip our thoughts. And how many of you, I am included in my lifetime, when there's a situation, a relationship, a scenario, do you end up, you can put this in the chat if you'd like, A, you think of the positive, the optimism, you're like, things are going to go great. Or B, do you end up going to, oh no, things are going to be horrible, all these negative thoughts? You can write in the chat if you are, and it's okay if not, no worries. But I want you to think about that. Where do your thoughts go right away? Do they go to the positive, A, or B is negative? And so what happens during that, all of us as human beings have been there, right? Whether it be in work, whether it be in transitions, whether it be in making big decisions, in relationships and having conversations, we will either go to, I call it the default. The default is the B, which is the negative thinking, the anger, it could be shame, it could be any type of blockers for us moving forward, versus the A is really our optimism, our left side of our amygdala, which is our limbic system, which is really our emotions. It's where everything's regulated. And so when it comes to this, there is hope. So if you're out there saying, oh man, and the negative is the norm, listen, A, it's not always really just you. I've realized that too. As human beings, we have family and generations that either we believed we actually had positive thinking or experiences and overcame things, or we thought that we couldn't do it and we let dreams go, or we thought that it was impossible. Now, this is not a thing against families, but what it is an opportunity to look at where are you at in your thinking and where do you want to go? And so with our brain, sometimes I wrote about this, it's like a seesaw. Our left amygdala, our positive, optimistic, or more positive thinking, it's going to be okay, I'll make it through, even if it's hard. Center sometimes is really less signals. It's like the neurons, the amino acids, the hormones, everything's operating, but we're not in a state of thinking in that way. So we're going in the right stage. And I've been there. 100% had to undo that and have my brain shift over and over and over again, till now when I have something come up that could be a negative experience, I can think of the thought and then go right to the optimistic, or go right more times now, right? Or even when I'm in a situation where it could take me out for days if I'm not being cognitive flexible, or if I'm not shifting my thinking. And so I totally get it. I've been there, emotionally, physically drained from, oh my goodness, with all the adrenaline, the cortisol, and all these thinking about what could happen. But what was happening was I was in fear. And so my distortion, it was a cognitive dissonance where I knew that there was something possible, but I had not just the skills, but I also had the mindset beliefs. But it was, I needed the skills to help me shift. I needed the love to help me shift. I had things I didn't know I had to shift. And there were some beliefs I didn't even know were deep down in there that I wasn't able to shift just automatically. And so maybe some of you can relate to that. And I'd love to hear that. You can write in the chat. You can let me know. It's okay. This is, I will be all real and with you, because that's what I like to be. And so when we have this cognitive flexibility, it's about flexibility. But what happens is we could get stuck in one side. Or sometimes what happens is, yes, it's good to have the positive, but if there is something like, okay, alert, we need to shift because there's a little bit of some danger, right, ahead, we also want to know that. But what happens is we get all of these memories, which actually goes back generations. I've actually had clients who have broken off beliefs because they had no idea that was holding them back, right? Because we believed we weren't loved, or we believed nothing could change. We have to stay this way. And that's not true of anything. We actually can shift and have that flexible thinking because that's exactly who we are. But if we have beliefs that are operating in old emotions, it's hard to shift it. So a lot of times shifting our brain is also releasing emotions. And maybe some of you can relate to that, but we don't always know how. In fact, a lot of times I was operating out of a belief of always having disappointment. It was like a chronic disappointment. And what happened was I didn't know how to shift my brain into thinking, into the hope, into that things can change, and that if I made these steps, I can move forward no matter what it looks like. That was difficult. And I remember one time, because I'm always talking about healthy grief and I didn't know how to get there, that I realized that there was so much disappointment in my life. And I remember wailing. And so wailing, and I tell you, it reminds me of Joseph in the Bible, right? I'm that's woman of faith, but I'm just using that example where he wailed because he was in the palace. He wailed so much that everybody heard him. And what happened was he had a guttural cry because he was emotionally, I call it emotional constipation. He was totally not able to release that. And he finally did. And that's what happened with me. And after I did that, I had a shift where those emotions of disappointment helped me go from thinking negative disappointment to start going into hope. So perhaps some of you may understand or relate to that, but that's what happened. Was I was having these moments of not knowing how to shift. And that's a lot of us as humans. Like if we have something happen or a negative experience, we may say, oh, that's always going to happen. And we start to train our brain to think that, and we shut down any hope on the other side, that there is hope for shifting. And that could be in any area of our life. It could be in our job, it could be in our health, it could be in our wellness. And it's keeping on to hope that things can shift. And a lot of times we are so scared to move into something new when the very thing that we're called to is to go into the new. And it looks different, but that is where we get stronger and stronger, and we shift our brains. Our little brain neurons think and start to move because we're starting to shift too. And so I just wanted to come on here and share about this because cognitive flexibility, when you think about it, some ways to help you shift are you can start doing something different. So for example, if I love to sit on one chair, I might move to another, because what you're doing is saying, it's okay, I love this chair, but I want to move somewhere else. Or, I really, and even having a positive statement. If you're nervous, like say you're doing something new and you're moving somewhere or you're going to somewhere new, write down a statement and speak it out, the affirmation of the positive of it, saying, I am going to have a conversation with somebody, or I am going to move forward and go around the block, and maybe you haven't been, or I'm going to take a half-mile walk and then I'll come back. And maybe you haven't done any mile walk. And what you're doing is you're training your brain to say, it's okay, I'm going to have a forward action. And you're writing it ahead of time and you're speaking it over you so that you have the hope to shift. And then when your brain has that negative thought, you have that post-it, you might have an index card, you might have it written somewhere, and it's telling you the truth. It's showing you what is the truth about the situation. And so what you're doing is you're training your brain to be more flexible, even in situations where sometimes everything has to be in order, right? If everything has to be in order, yes, we want that. But a lot of times that doesn't happen. And it's saying, it's okay. So now I'll shift gears. I'll flip my thought as a pancake and shift it and celebrate the little wins. If it takes one thought and the rest are not the healthy, positive ones, that's okay. And there's no condemnation. Then take it. Oh, I like it. Oh, there you are, Lynn. Yeah, it's weird. My phone isn't showing, but you're showing on here. Yeah, you don't like the heat and you're positive most of the time and you relate. So yeah, certainly put your comments down there, but it's like, it does take some time, but I've seen a lot of people accelerate in this, and that's what I've been celebrating. In fact, it was really amazing because I just had a recent client and she finished, like she was with me for, a couple months, if not more. And at the end, we did this mindset assessment that we do. And at the beginning to the end, all of the probably over 20 statements that she had that were not in belief, that were not positive all shifted. Her cognitive flexibility has shifted in her beliefs. And that is amazing. And that's exactly it, is learning how to do that. And there's different steps with it, but it takes these, I'm giving you simple tips, but there's other things to do. And so that's important. And so whether it be in coaching, whether it be in your daily practice, allow yourself to think about what you're thinking. That's metacognition, which I've talked about before. Meta is really thinking about your thinking and not condemning yourself, but saying, okay, I'm thinking this way. How can I start small? Maybe that's taking in our little time management, it's taking in our little tips on thinking and practical. How can I just say one statement? And a lot of times there's emotions under it, which is why we say it, but we're not yet released. But we can still affirm ourselves because that positive talk is also important. And so hopefully this will help you. But I love this. This is what I love the breakthrough in, that we want to break through the other side. If we're constantly in a state of fear, we're constantly and what happens is we end up controlling fear, thinking that we're good, but we're just controlling the fear. And that leads to still being stuck. And what you want is to overcome that, but also have the skill sets and know where you're going to move ahead. That's important, like setting the goals, knowing what your skill sets are, whatever it is, relationships, business, career, because otherwise you keep going in circles and that's what happens in our life. So we want to have of the flexible thinking, but also a focus. And that's what happens is as we get flexible, we can have a greater moving forward because we're starting to really think into our vision, but also thinking more focused because we have these healthy thoughts, which are in our left amygdala, which is part of our limbic system, our emotional center. And I still believe, I know there's a midbrain, but I believe in the three. There's three big parts that really make up our brain, the triune brain, and it's that frontal cortex and the limbic system and the brainstem, and they all connect. And so we want to have these different thinking and undo stuff and be kind to yourself because it takes some time, but there is hope, that you can have hope and you can start one step at a time. All right. Well, it's good to talk to all of you. It was great to see all of you watching. If you watch us later, you can play along. I asked you to put in some little comments in the chat. You can certainly share things. If you have questions, let me know. But I want to come on here and again, I hope you have a great day. It's been great to see all of you. Keep your hope. One step at a time, flipping those pancakes. Think of it like a pancake. You're flipping it over, right? One side's done. So the negative's done. Let's get over to the positive, and the positive will be up there. So take care, everybody. And as you know, certainly you can get in touch with me if this is your like, yes, I've been in these emotional areas. I'm not sure how to forge ahead. You can, and you know that it's time to move ahead into the new. Then certainly get in touch with me. I would love to work with you and move you into your goals, into your relationships with yourself and others, and to forge ahead because hope is good. A lot of times we're just overcoming some big mountains and definitely have done that to get there. So I am rooting for you as always. Take care.